Linda Cohn, shout out to a real G, 34 years at ESPN. First woman to anchor a national sports radio network, 5,000 episodes on SportsCenter. She's going to make her final appearance on Friday. Listen, I say this as a kid raised in the 90s. We were #blessed. We had it so good.
They're experiencing the loss of another legend today at the worldwide leader in woke as the legendary Linda Cohn hosts her final edition of SportsCenter later tonight. But that's okay. If you're one of the few people still watching ESPN, Uncle KC brings you good tidings of woke joy. I know losing Linda Cohn is tough, but a couple of weeks ago, ESPN made an exciting announcement. They knew they were losing Linda Cohn, a legendary personality that normal people respect. So they decided to alleviate the loss of Linda Cohn by offering a contract extension to David Dennis Jr., better known here on the channel as David the Jr. Doofus. You know, lately, I have been crediting ESPN for attempting to eradicate the woke fungus. They acquiesced to viewer demands by getting Elle Duncan off our TV. They sent Elle Duncan to Netflix so she could become someone else's problem. ESPN fired Clinton Yates. They fired the originator of the term huge embarrassing failure, Bomani Jones. To their credit, ESPN has been making an effort to eradicate the woke fungus. They've been trying to extinguish the toxic mouth farts, which is why I'm struggling to understand why they decided to offer a multi-year extension to David the Jr. Doofus. I mean, look at this dude. This dude is the captain of the SS Dork. Remember the geek in high school who became acquainted with towels because his head was always getting dunked in the toilet? Here he is. Hell, he damn sure wasn't getting acquainted with women. The only time the captain experiences feminine energy is when he looks into the mirror. I don't understand losing Linda Cohn and replacing her with a doofus. But in their defense, ESPN could not stop Linda Cohn from leaving the network. Supposedly, Linda Cohn is retiring. Headline at ESPN: Linda Cohn retiring after 34 years with the network. You know, Linda Cohn is the last of a dying breed at ESPN. And honestly, it's probably in ESPN's best interest to distance themselves from these legends. I know it's fun to look back at the 90s, and I understand missing the 90s. It was definitely a much simpler time. Back then, we weren't dealing with dudes in dresses. We weren't dealing with radicals from third world dumps who hate our country. We weren't constantly bombarded with toxic woke white women. But the 90s are over. There is no going back. And as a network, ESPN needs to look towards their future. It's impossible to look towards the future when your audience is reminiscing about the past. After 34 years at the network, after being one of the hosts responsible for elevating ESPN into the mainstream in the 90s, Linda Cohn definitely deserves her retirement. Problem is, she's not retiring. Headline at the New York Post: inside look at Linda Cohn's second act after retiring from ESPN. Second act? I thought when people retired, that was their final act. My mom retired 5 years ago and she enjoys not doing shit, at least when it comes to employment. She stays busy with her grandchildren. She volunteers at the church a couple of times a week. But Mom will never enter a second act of gainful employment, and I don't blame her. So, what is Linda Cohn doing? If she's staying in media, which she is, why wouldn't she remain at ESPN. In terms of sports media, there is no one bigger than ESPN. If Linda Cohn isn't retiring, why is she leaving? Yesterday, Linda Cohn spoke with the dudes at Sports Media Watch. She explained what went into her decision to leave ESPN after 34 years. For years now, Linda Cohn has been hosting the late edition of SportsCenter from Los Angeles. Last summer, ESPN announced that they were shutting down the operation in Los Angeles and moving it back to their headquarters in Bristol, Connecticut. Linda Cohn and her co-host Stan Verrett. Hey, it's me, Stanley! Linda and her co-host Stanley, they were given 6 weeks to decide their future with the network. They could have an all-expenses-paid trip to escape the People's Republic of California, which most people would immediately accept. Hell, millions of people, they are paying to escape the California dump. Linda and Stanley, they were given an offer of a paid escape. They could leave the People's Republic and move back to Bristol, Connecticut, or they could leave ESPN altogether. Now, Stanley, he left ESPN, or maybe he was fired. He ended up launching a podcast or a YouTube channel that no one's ever heard of. Linda Cohn, she ended up working out a 1-year extension with ESPN to work on special projects. And that 1-year agreement ended this month. While speaking with Sports Media Watch, Linda Cohn explained why she didn't want to move back to Bristol, Connecticut. Now, I was thinking she was going to blame the weather, but according to Linda Cohn, working at ESPN in California, it was stress-free. It was relaxing. I didn't want to move back to headquarters and deal with an environment that's toxic. Toxic? Unfortunately, Linda Cohn didn't specify what she meant by toxic, and Sports Media Watch, they didn't press her by asking a follow-up question. Maybe Linda Cohn was talking about office politics. At 66 years old, maybe she didn't want to move across the country at her age. Or maybe, just maybe, Linda Cohn was talking about the woke fungus that has been prevalent at ESPN in the last 5 or 10 years. You know, in most cases, people don't quit jobs because of the work. They leave the company because of who they are working around. If you have been following the channel for years, you know how I feel about my old job. This month, actually, it was yesterday. Yesterday was 5 years ago to the day that I walked out of that office for the final time. I had been miserable at the company for years at that point, but it wasn't because of the work. The work was easy. It was painfully boring. It wasn't challenging. It wasn't something that motivated me, but the job itself was easy. What made me miserable was my boss. Me and my former boss did not get along, and it was probably mostly my fault. Outside of work, he was a great dude, but he dealt with so much pressure from ownership, and I don't think he was really equipped to deal with it. So the pressure he was dealing with, it was applied to us. Plus, I think he had a bit of a drinking problem, and so did I. I mean, who can blame us? That place drove us to drink. But the point is, the work environment was miserable. The constant surveillance. They had cameras set up in our office monitoring what we were doing. They were tracking our usage on the company computers. It was the drizzling shits. Hell, one of the reasons that I love YouTube so much, besides the fact that it's challenging and it's new every day, I have unlimited freedom, and the only person here in my studio with me is me. I never argue with myself because I love me some me. While discussing her departure from ESPN, Linda Cohn mentioned that she was seeking creative freedom, which is common with people who are leaving corporate media. Unsurprisingly, Linda Cohn is launching a YouTube channel where she's going to be talking sports and pop culture. Basically, Linda Cohn is trying to be the female version of Uncle KC. Who knows? Maybe we will link up in the future for a collaboration. Uncle KC and Aunt Linda. All kidding aside, I wish Linda Cohn nothing but the best. I hope she succeeds here on YouTube, and I also hope she knows how difficult it is going to be. A lot of people in media and a lot of current and former professional athletes, they think they can start a YouTube channel and their name recognition, their resume will guarantee success. Remember a couple of years ago when Draymond Green was starting the new media? The media sucks. These YouTubers suck. They can't talk about us. They don't know ball. I'm starting a new media where players will cover each other. Yeah, how's that working out, Dre? It's working so well that Draymond Green was begging to be on Inside the NBA during the NBA playoffs. You know, some, they make a successful transition, but the vast majority, they fail. Take Joy Reid, for example. When is the last time you heard anything about the Wicked Weave? She went from a mainstream platform on MSNBC, where she was averaging around 1 million viewers every night in prime time, down to 1.5 million viewers in the last 30 days here on YouTube. Joy Reid is now on my level, and she uploads a hell of a lot more videos than I do. I upload 2 videos per day on this channel. Joy Reid is uploading anywhere between 4 and 10 videos a day, and our view counts are the same. Hell, if you include my second channel, I'm averaging 400,000 more than the Wicked Weave. The point is, it is tough to make it on YouTube, and I think it is going to be a tough transition for Linda Cohn. Name recognition is not enough. This isn't like hosting SportsCenter where you're reacting to highlights. Attention spans are short. There is no production team. There is no corporate backing or advertising. You got to be entertaining. You got to be relatable. I know it sounds easy, but it's not. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it well. Like I said, I wish Linda Cohn the best because she's one of the good ones, but I think this transition from ESPN to YouTube, I think it is going to be very difficult. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys tomorrow.